Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and it's wonderful to be back on the air with you lovely, lovely people. And I enjoy talking, as you can tell. This is Danny Talks video show, and this is the only place that you'll see the only original Danny Schwartz talking. There's other Danny Schwartzes, but there's only one. There's only one Danny Schwartz exactly like me. And hopefully the webcam won't break because it has my face on it. But anyway, it's good to be here, and let's get right on down to what we have to talk about. I'm going to talk a little bit about a little bit of everything. I'm going to talk news. I'm going to talk the weather, the sports, the WWE, whatever comes across my brain to talk about. Because this program is going to be a mixture of everything. So if you're, I just don't want this show to be. I want this show to appeal to everybody, no matter who you are, whether you're a wrestling fan. Uh, I want to get you thinking about the political situation and get you riled up and say, gee, those politicians don't know what they're doing. So that you guys can, pretty soon in America and United States, you're going to have elections. And I want you to think about who you're going to vote for and what you're going to do. And, and that, I think what it is, I think the politicians think they can get away with what they want because they think that the Americans are just too fed up to do anything about it and that the Americans are getting too fed up to vote. And I think at election time, you Americans, and I say Americans because I'm living in Canada right now, but I was born in the United States, but I feel that you, as the proud American people that you are, everybody should get out and vote because every vote does count. You mightn't think that, but yes, it does, even in this day and age. And I'm going to make a quick comment here while we're on the subject of politics. I just got done watching one of Lisa Haven's videos. I watch her every now and again. And she made an interesting comment. And she had the article on her webpage linking to it. But this is basically what she said was that the global elite, the globalists, if you will, they don't want Trump to win the election. And if Trump wins the election, that they were going to take it out on the American people by activating an EMP, which is an electromagnetic pulse device that would knock out every electrical device in North America. And they would blame it on the Russians, and the Russians would retaliate, and that would start World War III. And there's also an article on this on a website called The Common Sense Show. You can go to their website, thecommonsenseshow.com, and check that out. But man, I hope and pray to God that they're wrong. And I really hope that there's people out there aren't that sick, that they would resort to something like this. And that is just too sickening to talk about, but I had to throw that out there. So you can go and check that out for yourself. But anyway, let's roll right along. So I'm gonna be talking about different subjects here. So just give me a minute to pull up some news, and we'll get into the news. And later in a few minutes, we'll also get into the wrestling. So you wrestling fans, you hold on to your hat, because we'll get to you, but we'll get into the news first, and then then after we get into the regular news, as we say, we'll get into the wrestling. So everybody be patient because I'm going to try my best to get into everybody. I'm going to give a big shout out to my buddy Tommy. Hi, Tommy. all you guys out there in St. Anthony, Newfoundland. And Tommy said he wanted a podcast at least 20 minutes. I don't know if it's going to run 20 minutes, but I'm going to try and keep it at least 20 minutes, or at least try to. That depends on how long, what topics I have to cover. But he said he wanted one at least 20 minutes. So I don't know how I'm going to keep it 20 minutes unless I sing happy birthday to somebody, or do something silly just to fill up airtime. But anyway, let's get down to the news. So just give me a minute, and I'm going to pull up the news on my trusty computer. And I'm thankful to the good Lord above that my computer is still working, even though my cell phone has been on cell phone browser has been on the blink. Now here's an interesting article I pulled up. My web browser, and this is and apparently there's been arrest in an old murder from 1960. Excuse me. But hang on now, and I'm getting all kinds of headlines flashing things up on my screen, so just bear with me for a minute. Oh, oh man, I clicked on something else. Man, my internet is just not being what it should be today. But anyhow, I'm going to try, and I'll get back to that other story in a minute, but I'm going to roll on along here. And it says funny moments from the presidential debates. It said there was a number of funny moments from the presidential debates that got the crowd laughing. So I'm going to.
Can a car?
No, I don't want that. Man alive, like commercials. I don't want.
With attention and care.
Man, I hate these pop-up ads and these commercials. Now, okay, I'm going to get out of here because this is. Oh, man, my internet is just not being what it should be today. Okay, now. Here's the article here. Ex-daycare owner found not guilty on 12 assault charges. Now, this really gets my beef okay, now the other article that I had. Man, this internet is just. Oh man, these pop-up ads. These pop-up ads are just driving me. Okay, now let's try this again. Okay, hope you guys are still with me. Ex-daycare owner found not guilty on 12 different assault charges. Okay, let's roll along with this and see where this is going. A New Brunswick judge has found former daycare owner Celine Lang not guilty of all 12 assault charges against her, saying actions that included a child to a chair and throwing water in the face of another were reasonable. Celine Lang's 2-week trial took place in August before Justice Jean-Paul Ouellette, who delivered his ruling Tuesday in the Court of Queen's Bench in Moncton. Lang pleaded not guilty to 10 charges of assault against children and one count each of assault and assault with a weapon for throwing a flower pot at a former employee of Cuvée de Vallée daycare in Memramcook, I think it's pronounced. Man, like people today, I think they're gone off the deep end. Let ruled Lang's actions were reasonable when she tied a child to a chair and threw water in the face of another. In the water incident, the judge, while recognizing assault was committed, said Lang took control of the situation to calm the child, who was short of breath and had blue lips. He added the Crown failed to show that there were other options available to calm the child. The judge said no assault occurred when Lang immobilized the children during that time. He also said the court relieved her when she said she did not bite a child. On the charge of assaulting an employee, Let said the employee's testimony was not credible. He said there were contradictions in her testimony, and that her refusal to answer some questions. And parents who attended court to hear the ruling were left crying. And I don't blame, man, like what's the world coming to? You know, Long did admit to tying children to chairs to calm them down and throwing water in a boy's face to shock him out of a tantrum. But her defense lawyer argued she used reasonable force in dealing with children in her care. Defense lawyer Hazen Brien used Section 43 of the Criminal Code, known as the spanking law, to defend his client's actions. Last year, the Liberal government voted to repeal that law. Yeah, and another thing that I'm hearing too, when it comes to news and politics, I just read an article earlier today, and I can't remember the name of the website that this article was on, but it goes like this. Uh, Quite a while back, as you all know, if you watch the news, you know that in Canada, We had wildfires up in Fort McMurray, and there was quite a bit of money raised to help people that were homeless and whatnot, and the people that were left homeless because of the wildfires are rebuilding their houses. Now, here's the thing uh, that this article mentions, and it's kind of hard to believe, but as soon as these people were hit with these wildfires, and now the federal government and the province and they've decided to put an extra tax on drywall. A lot of these people are rebuilding their houses, and they're seeing a doubling, almost a tripling of the taxes on drywall. So here these poor people are trying to rebuild their homes and trying to get back on their feet, and the government hits them with a tax that there's no need to hitting them with. It's hard enough for them to rebuild as it is without being hit with extra taxes. And like really, is the government going to squeeze every single human being dry on the planet? And as the expression goes, you can't squeeze blood out of a turnip. So are they considering the residents of Fort McMurray turnips and trying to squeeze blood out of, as the expression goes, trying to squeeze blood out of a turnip? Uh, this to me is just the audacity of some politicians is just downright arrogant in my mind. But anyway, moving right along, that's my take on that. But I just had to share that bit with you. But it seems to me that no matter, like I've always said, no matter what political stripe you are, you have to get out and vote. If need be, go on stage as a peaceful protest, not a violent one, but a peaceful one. Go to your legislatures, talk to your politicians, and let them know, look, we don't appreciate what you're doing. And I mean, don't do it in a violent way, but at least do it in a peaceful way. And I do believe in peaceful protest. And a lot can be accomplished by protest. And you can be, and I'm sure maybe one of you out there can be the next great civil rights leader, like Martin Luther King is quoted as saying, "I have a dream that people will be judged by, not by the color of their skin, but the content of their character." And I think that's the problem. We don't have very many politicians today who have good, solid moral fiber and good moral character. And we need more of those people with good moral character, more people like Dr. King who will stand up to the establishment and say we're gonna stand against the evils of society and do what's right and do what needs to be done. I think countries should be run democratically the best way they know how, not by some globalist sitting in a back room at a back door somewhere and handpicking the politicians and handpicking everything and rigging elections. I don't agree with that. There's people out there now that say they want a global government like George Soros and some of the other ones who I'm not going to name. But they do. There's people out there, and it's been quoted quite often, that want a global government. In fact, there's websites out there promoting this right now. I don't know if it's a joke. There's even websites out there asking, there was even TV commercials asking people to join the Illuminati. And they even advertised a website where you could sign up and you pay your $40 or $30, whatever it is, to join the Illuminati. And I hope people aren't dumb enough to actually buy those books and actually feed into their philosophy. Because in my mind, that's um, The Illuminati New Age philosophy is right from the pits of hell, in my opinion, and it's something that nobody in this day and age should have anything to do with. And they have a very evil philosophy, evil religious system. The Illuminati does, and I encourage anybody to get into that. And our politicians and governments have done some evil, dastardly things over the years. When you think of evil and dastardly, of course, the number one evil tyrant that comes to mind, of course, would be Adolf Hitler, who killed millions of Jews during the Second World War, which is utterly atrocious, horrible, and downright disgusting. Then, of course, in the 50s and 60s, you had the American government doing brainwashing experiments. And that's been on WikiLeaks and it's been on different websites. You can Google MK Ultra MK Ultra experiments. You can look that up. I mean, the society as a whole has just gotten completely insane. And how do I know society has gotten insane? Because a while back we even had. I remember a few months ago watching Tommy Sotomayor's uh, videos, and he had a video on talking about these two individuals. We'll say I won't even call them ladies because I don't think what they did is very ladylike. But these two in a McDonald's decided they were going to fight over the last McChicken, and one of them was left unconscious in a coma over a McChicken. And I mean, what does our society come to when people are willing to bash each other unconscious over a chicken sandwich? It's not worth it. You know, people don't realize that back in the Second World War, and there have been several wars fought, and people died and gave their lives so that us Americans could be free. And here you are, taking your freedom lightly and putting someone in a coma in what's supposed to be a free and democratic America, and you're putting someone in a coma over a McChicken and willing to risk being putting in jail for life over a McChicken. My dear, that's not what our forefathers fought and died for. If this person wants to be an idiot over a McChicken, fine. But people that do these idiotic things and loot and break into stores and go on a rampage, it's an insult to our forefathers that fought and died for your freedom. And those forefathers fought and died basically so you could be an idiot. But one of these days, if the globalists or the ones that are planning the world domination, if they get their way, you won't be able to be an idiot for long. I remember somebody saying, well, one time they came for the Jews, but I didn't say anything because I wasn't Jewish. And they came for another group, and I didn't say anything because I wasn't one. They came for another group, I still didn't say anything. And it kept going on down the line. And finally, it said when they came for me, no one said anything because there was no one left. And there's being a lot of injustice done, and nobody's saying anything. And if we let the injustice go on, pretty soon, we're going to be overthrown by a dictatorship, and no one's going to say anything because no one stood up in the first place, first when this started, and stood up to him. And that's how a dictatorship starts. That's how Hitler started, because no one dared to stand up to him. And I believe that society should should be democratic, should be open, and not a communist dictatorship like over in China. We as people should be free, as the Constitution says. And I encourage every single American out in the United States to take the time and read their Constitution. Your Constitution says that you, as an American citizen, have the right to bear arms, to have a gun. Not so you can go moose hunting, but so that if the government gets out of control and becomes a dictatorship, if the government wants to knock on your door and say, we're taking your family, then you, as an American citizen, by whatever means necessary, have a right to defend your family. Now, people might disagree with me and say, me and Tommy got into a heated argument over this. You know, what's a little gun going to do if they come in? If they come in with missiles or rockets or whatever? Well, if someone knocked on my door and I had a wife and a newborn kid, and the government says, we're taking you to a concentration camp, I'm sure there's more than one guy out there. There's more than one guy would let the government soldier know where they thought and use his gun. I'm sure there's more than one that would use his gun on a soldier. We don't want to think about this here in the good old United States of America, but that's just the way it is. People are tired of being told by their government what to do, when to do it, when to get up, when to go to bed, when to go to sleep, and when to eat and when to use the bathroom. And I think if the government had their way, that's what they do. A lot of countries now, they're putting in carbon pollution tax and air tax, actually taxing the air that we breathe. Like really, how far is this going to go? People are just completely off their gourd. But anyway, enough of the rambling on the news. Let's get and so that's one thing that I have to say. I'm totally disgusted with the daycare story about the daycare worker abusing little children. And I know people are going to hate me for quoting the Bible here, but you know, Jesus said in the Bible, if anybody abuses a little child, it'd be better if a giant millstone, that's a stone the size of a house, basically, was put around their neck and they dropped in the midst of the sea. People say, whoa, you're going to do that to a child abuser? Of course. I think it's a fitting punishment. I think people today are getting off with too much. You know, we've got people out there that murder people are getting away with it. I mean, we have a society that's just gone to the dogs, in my opinion. But anyway, enough news and politics. I'm going to get down to the wrestling because I know my buddy Tommy is right into the wrestling, and so am I. So I want to get down and get into the lighter news. So now we're going to get into the wrestling news. So let's roll on down to our wrestling news. Oh. Okay, here are your raw results. I'm gonna just read out the results. Then I'm gonna give you my. Okay, here's your quick rundown of Raw. Okay, we have Roman Reigns versus Rusev. That ended in a double countout. And I think that Reigns and Rusev is going to be a good. I think those two are not finished with each other. The New Day defeated Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. I think as far as Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson goes, those two is about as entertaining as dishwater. So we need to see new opponents for New Day. And Bailey defeated Anna Fields. I'm not sure who Anna Fields is, but and we see Cedric Alexander and Rich Swann, and they defeated a tag team. Cesaro and Sheamus defeated Nick Cutler and Willis Williams. And Sasha Banks confronted Charlotte. Now, here's the thing here. Right off the top of the bat, they said Cedric Alexander and Rich Swann. And if you've seen, if you've ever watched ROH wrestling, you know that Cedric Alexander. I think he's a great wrestler, and I think he could do a lot of good in the company. This guy, Rich Swann, I've seen him, and he's very good, very technically sound, and I think that him and Alexander, WWE does a great. WWE has a tendency to put someone together for a tag team for a week or two, and then it goes nowhere. But I think if WWE would keep these guys together, I think they would have a tremendous tag team. And here now, after several weeks of having Cesaro and Sheamus go at it against each other, they put Cesaro and Sheamus together as a tag team and defeated Nick Cutler and Willis Williams. I think that's a good idea. We got Sasha Banks and Raw Woman and Charlotte getting into a confrontation. I think those two always come up with great matches. I think that now people are asking me, well, why do you still watch wrestling, or what's good in the wrestling right now? Well, as far as my opinion goes, I think there's two main feuds in the wrestling world right now. In NXT, you have Samoa Joe, and on several occasions he went after Shinsuke Nakamura. And on one of the previous episodes of NXT, if you keep up with NXT, you'll note that Nakamura has been carried out on a stretcher, and then and Joe and the doctors are saying Nakamura is not cleared, but Joe comes out on NXT and says he's going to destroy every other wrestler every week until Nakamura comes back and he gets his hands on Nakamura. And the idea that they're using Samoa Joe as the main heel and destroying everybody on the roster, and you're thinking to yourself, well, Nakamura is out, and here's Joe going around like a monster. and you're sitting back thinking to yourself, now is there some new guy going to be on the horizon that's going to come out and give Joe a good run for his money? Now, a lot of speculation has been going around, and there has been a name tossed out, but I can't remember the name of the wrestler now. But there are rumors of a few people that are going to be signed. Now, if that was the case, and we had someone that we wouldn't expect and someone new show up and give Samoa Joe a run for his money, that would be something that me as a WWE fan would like. Also, I love this idea uh, of where they're taking this feud between Brian Kendrick and T.J. Perkins. If you notice on the pay per view, Brian Kendrick and T.J. Perkins had a really good sound technical match, and when it came down to it, um, it was a good match back and forth between the two. And when it came down to it, T.J. Perkins beat Brian Kendrick with a knee bar. A knee bar is kind of like the armbar submission they used to see Alberto Del Rio do. Only instead of on the arm, it's done on the knee. And you could hear the announcers really getting into it, saying knee bar, and then you could see Kendrick wincing in pain and him tapping. And then after the match, Brian Kendrick goes and puts out his hand, goes to give T.J. Perkins a hug, and he hugs him for a second, and everybody in the audience is looking, and then all of a sudden you see Kendrick get fuming mad, and the smoke come out of his ears, and he ends up hitting T.J. Perkins with the headbutt. Now I haven't seen much of T.J. Perkins. Maybe someone else has seen him in another promotion, but I'm looking forward to, as a wrestling fan, seeing just what Perkins and Kendrick, how far they can take this feud and what they can do to each other and what they can do in the ring. I think if this is done properly, it's going to be great. Um, as some of you know, several years back, Brian Kendrick, he was a tag team champion and he was let go. And now it looks like WWE has egg on their face because Kendrick is back. He's doing a tremendous job as a heel, and I think this is gonna go over well. And we have Kendrick and Perkins, and where Bray Wyatt is not on Raw. I think that and where Cena is not on Raw. I think that having a Kendrick Perkins feud that would fill up the vacuum because I think Raw certainly needs a feud. Seeing that Cena is no longer on Raw and Bray Wyatt is no longer on Raw, that was one of the reasons a lot of the fans would watch Monday Night Raw because Bray Wyatt went over as such a good heel. But he's no longer on Raw, I think we need something to fill that vacuum, and I think if it's done properly, um, and I think also if it's done properly, I think after a while, give Bailey a push and eventually make Bailey the Raw Women's Champion. I would love that, and maybe eventually have someone, a woman or someone totally new or someone different, take on Bailey besides Sasha Banks and Charlotte, and it would be interesting to see how Bailey does against an unknown opponent, and that would be something that me myself as a wrestling fan would love to see. But as I said, um, I think that And as far as wrestling goes, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with the Samoa Joe Nakamura situation. The way they're playing Samoa Joe as a heel right now, I think that's going over really well. I also think, what are they going to do with the TJ Perkins and Kendrick? I think that's going to go over well. So I think WWE has more surprises in store for us. I think eventually they might pull something right out of left field and surprise us all. So I'm just anxiously looking forward to seeing exactly what it is WWE is going to do in the future. So to summarize what we talked about today, I feel that as far as politics goes, we talked about the Lisa Haven video podcast, and one of her comments was that there's rumors going around that a EMP weapon would be released in the United States, get the blame, and this will start World War III. And I hope to God that this rumor is wrong. But that's the rumor going around, according to the Common Sense Show website. And Lisa Haven has it posted as well. So hopefully that's. Then we also talked about how the government about how the federal government is going to put taxes on drywall, and a lot of people in Fort McMurray, Alberta, are struggling to rebuild their homes, and the last thing they need is a tax on drywall. So I think that's a very bad move there on the part of the federal government, and I think they should reconsider their tax on drywall. Also, I touched on this um, lady that's been charged in a daycare with abusing children. As far as I'm concerned, anybody that abuses and lays a hand on a child, and especially someone else's child, deserves to be punished to the fullest extent of the law. And I have absolutely no time whatsoever for any individual who's going to abuse a child. Now, there's a difference between a parent spanking a child and child abuse. I believe that a parent should be able to discipline their own child. There's nothing wrong with a spank. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to get the old love tap on the behind, as they used to say, and I'm sure, and I turned out perfectly well. And other people will tell you that their parents spanked them as kids, really fine. But there's a fine difference between child abuse. So, condoning child abuse by any means, but I think a parent should be able to spank their own child. Went 20 minutes. And Tommy, I'm sorry if I didn't go 20 minutes, but I just don't have anything else to talk about. But hopefully, I went 20 minutes. And I want to say a big hello to my buddy Tommy, who helped put this show together. I want to say a big shout out to everybody out in St. Anthony. From what I hear from my buddy Tommy, you guys are a real stand out bunch. I want to say hi to the folks out in St. Anthony. And Tommy, I want you to share this video, and show it to all your buddies in St. Anthony, and get them to tune in and get me to subscribe. So, guys, I want you to, like I said, write me at dannytalks@usa.com and let me know what you think. And I'll do my best to try and get back to you. Also, you can send in um, uh, any of Tommy's buddies. You can send in comments to Tommy because I talked to Tommy quite a bit. So Tommy paid his buddies. You can send in comments to him, and he'll be sure and get in touch with me that way. But anyway, I want to sign off now and thank all my subscribers from the bottom of my heart for tuning in. And God bless everybody, and I'll be back later.